Electronics.
No need to go to St. Martin anymore. We have everything available right here in St. Kitts. And remember, we have only one store in St. Kitts, and we are located at Port Zante, opposite the food court. Smart Electronics, way to live a smart life.
Water is life. Water is life. Do just one thing.
Every drop cold. Make sure you check for leaks around your house every day. Every drop cold. When brushing your teeth, don't let the water run away. Come save the water, preserve the water right now. Every drop cold. Save the water whenever you're taking your shower. Every drop cold. Make saving the water your business every hour. The water right now. And you. Do water right now.
Do just one thing.
A pleasant good morning to all our listeners in Radioland, those of you in tune to us via radio, YouTube, and Facebook. We at the St. Kitts Water Services Department are happy to be back with you for the second edition of our very own radio show, The Water Line. The Water Line is a radio program brought to you by the St. Kitts Water Services Department. I am Sharina Warner, and I will be your host, taking you through every Wednesday, that's the second and fourth Wednesday of each month. For today's show, our topic is World Water Day, and so I have with me a few individuals, well, two to be exact, from the department joining me in the studio. I will go right ahead and allow them to introduce themselves. Gentlemen.
Good morning to everyone. My name is Cromwell Williams. I'm the manager, water engineer. It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
And good morning. My name is Malcolm Herbert. I'm the clerk of works. I also am the inspector, electrical, mechanical for groundwater, and I also assist in as the procurement officer for water services.
Okay. That's quite a mouthful. Now, the department has been celebrating World Water Day for some years now, to my recollection. Tell us why World Water Day is so significant a celebration.
Okay, the United Nations General Assembly, by resolution adopted on the 22nd of December 1992, declared the 22nd of March of each year as World Water Day. The purpose of World Water Day is to promote public awareness through the publication and diffusion of documentaries and the organization of conferences, roundtables, seminars, expositions, etc., related to the conservation and development of water resources. The theme for this year's celebration is Groundwater, Making the Invisible Visible. The Water Services Department, for the past 20 or so years, we have, along with our stakeholders and partners, been organizing a week of activities around this day, the 22nd of March. So we still have another month or so before we actually go into World Water Day, but we wanted to whet your appetite, as it were, today, to give you a brief idea, well, of some of the activities that we are planning for next month as we come to celebrate World Water Day. And so I will, well, back to you, Sharina.
Sure. Mr. Williams, you said quite a bit about the origin of World Water Day celebrations, but I want to zero in on the theme for this year: groundwater, making the invisible visible. I actually like the theme. But before we start getting into the theme at large, let's look at groundwater. I think the word itself sounds self-explanatory, but just for the benefit of our listeners, give us an understanding of what exactly is groundwater.
Okay, groundwater. When we said groundwater, we are looking at the water that is beneath the earth's surface. The island is a volcanic island, so you have seawater which is denser or heavier, as you would call it, than potable drinking water. So you have the seawater, and then you have the potable water floating just on top the seawater, and that is what we call groundwater, that we have to use equipment and tools to get that water from beneath that earth up into a reservoir and to our customers. That's why it's termed groundwater.
Thank you, Mr. Herbert. Now, Mr. Herbert, as the senior technician in groundwater, I want you to give us some insight into what it takes to get water to our taps. For many of us, our only involvement with water is as much as turning on the tap. So give us a little guidance as to what it takes to really get water from the ground, as you just explained where it is, to our taps.
Okay. Before I could go into that, I think it would be ill manners of me not to mention one of the leading figure that worked at water department for a number of years. I started working at water department at 1989, and when I went there, he was there, and he basically held my hand and lead me through. So it would be my pleasure to, unfortunately, announce his name. And why it is unfortunate, because sadly he passed recently, Mr. Jerome Pinney from the Sunny Point area. We also had another co-worker who passed about a year and a half ago, Mr. David Hobson. Those two were some of the leading persons in having a number of the wells that we have on St. Kitts in operation today. So, to answer your question, making the invisible visible, which is the theme. After all the technical work is done, the studies is done, and the well is dug, the groundwater team, which right now comprise of 7 persons, we will go in and we will install what you call a motor, which is connected to a pump, which is connected to a number of what we call column pipes that come from beneath the earth, hooked into the pump, lead up to the surface, and then take that water that we take from beneath the earth up into the reservoir. Equipment and material that is needed, as I said, pumps, motors, column pipes, check valves, wheel valve, non-return valves, water meter, and for treatment, water department does chlorination, with that also involved so the water could be of a certain standard and safe for all to drink. These materials does not come free, and they have a cost to them. A basic setup of a well system to get water from beneath the ground into the reservoir could run the department up to $1 million, $1.5 million, $1.5 million. So, just to give a small example of it.
Thank you, Mr. Herbert. I'm sure that our listeners got that was just a slight insight into what it takes to get water to them, and hopefully they can appreciate the work that goes into such. Now, I imagine that our listeners are anticipating an opportunity to weigh in on the conversation. Do we have any callers on the line?
Not at the moment, but the lines are now open. 465-2555, that's 2555, and 718-577-2916.
Okay, if we don't have any callers, we'll use this opportunity to tell the listeners about the activities that we have planned for next month match.
Well, before you get into that, we do have two, as a matter of fact.
We seem to have a caller on the line. Hello, caller. You're on the water line.
Hello, good morning. My question is not about the program that you're talking about. My question is about water supply.
Sure, go right ahead.
I signed up for it in October. I paid for it in November, and I haven't got it as yet. And the area is a developed area, so I wonder what's the problem.
Okay. Let me give you our numbers that you can call. Call 762.
Wait, I'm going to get a pen. Hey.
And for those of you that still on your radio, you're tuned to ZZ, or second program for the year, Water Line from the Water Department.
Yeah, go ahead now.
Yes, 762-9716.
9716.
That's my number, Mr. Williams. Give me a call after, and I will follow up on it for you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, caller. Are there any other callers on the line?
Hello.
Hi, caller. Welcome to the water line.
Yes, good morning. I'm calling from the garden housing.
Can you speak a little loudly, please?
Hello?
Can you speak a little louder?
Yeah, okay. There's a pipe between the project, right, and Park and Beaches. It burst since last year, and I tried call up there and nobody coming to fix the pipe. In the environment building, there's a pipe in there, and every afternoon a crazy fellow come in there, and he have all the pipe for hours. Don't care what run him. He go and he come back. He go and he come back. You understand me? And water is plentiful now, because sometimes I get up in the morning to use the restroom, and the water there, I had to come in the kitchen, take up a bottle of water and go to get my hands washed. Y'all need to come and see what's going on there.
Thank you very much for that information. We know that there are a number of faults and areas where there may be leaks or burst pipes that sometimes escape our attention, and I do take also that sometimes our response, sometimes it seems someone might have dropped the ball along the way, but this is one of the reasons why we're glad for this opportunity, because we know persons would use this opportunity to get in touch with us directly, and of course we will follow up vigorously to make sure that these matters are dealt with.
All right, we have another call.
Hello, caller. You're on the water line.
Good morning. Go ahead. You're live.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I just want to ask a technical question. The impeller that you put on the well pump, does the impeller do the straining of the water, of the well pump water? Is that the role of the impeller?
Caller, can you speak a little bit louder, please?
I'm asking if the impeller that you use and when you talk about, I hear the Mr. Herbert was talking about the groundwater and using the pump to pump up the groundwater and the column pipes. Where you have a motor, but you also have something where you call an impeller. I think it's an impeller is called. Where you have a strainer like to strain the water. Right?
Yes.
So that strain the water. What I'm asking, when you pump the water straight from the well, do you still have to treat that water, or could that water be drink straight from the well? Or do we have to still chlorinate the water? I know you test the water for hard water and different types of stuff, but could that be drink naturally, straight without treatment, or do you have to treat it first?
Okay.
And what other methods can you use to strain the water from the bottom of the earth? Those are my 3 questions.
Thank you, caller.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, that's a very good question. Sorry, because before I got into the inner workings of the water industry. One would think it's strange that you're pumping water from out of the ground and it is clean to be consumed straight from the ground, because we associate the ground with dirt, with unclean. But the reality is that the ground filters the water, because the water ultimately came from the rain and it filtered into the ground. And so when we pump that water out of the ground, that water is pure to be consumed. In fact, it is even purer than the surface water, because the surface water is open to the elements, it's open to bird droppings and things like that. Yes. But the water from the ground is pure. There usually is zero bacteria in the groundwater. And so to answer your question, yes, the groundwater, it doesn't need to be treated, but we still chlorinate it. But it doesn't have to be chlorinated.
And also to add the what you call the impeller. The impeller is part of what we call the pump, because the pump make up of a number of different impellers. The amount of impeller will be determined on the height at which we pump the water to. You'll add or subtract impellers to get the water to that particular height, because in St. Kitts our supply from the reservoir are all gravity fed. So we pump up to the reservoir and then it gravity fed down to the consumers.
Do we have any other caller on the line? Hi caller, welcome to the water line. Hi caller, welcome to the water line.
Yes. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. I'm reporting down Lower Market Street. In September they came and they changed out a stop valve that was leaking. They had the road there. Nobody come back to fix the road. So the dirt and everything, vehicle continue rolling over it. It's digging out and it's creating a problem. Also, on the sidewalk, there was a valve like where when you cut off somebody's water, there's a place where you put in a lock or something like that. That also is leaking, and they promise to come back to get it fixed. That haven't been fixed as yet. So it's still leaking, and the road needs to be paved back. That's my input.
Thank you, caller. Well, I think the gentlemen here have noted your concern and they will be looking into addressing them. Do we have any other callers on the line? We have another caller on the line. Caller, welcome to the water line. Welcome to the water line, caller.
Good morning.
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 I'm just asking a question.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Is water department have anything to do with a project that is taking place at Cranston Estate, going up to 5, going up to the line by 5 Estate, yeah?
Caller, can you be clear on where exactly you're referring to?
I asked if water department have anything to do with the project that is going on down there by Cranston. Cranston, you have some farmers working up there. They had a project going there where a bulldozer was making the road rather down there, go right up to the line, and actually the pipe for the farmers get broken up and they don't have any water, so they have to get water from down the road. So I just asking if water department is a part of that, have anything to do with Tele. We're responsible for that happen.
Okay, I'll let the gentleman answer.
I am not aware that we were involved in the works that apparently seem to have been taking place on the road, but if the water line got broken, we will look into it to see how we can assist. The line may actually be perhaps belongs to the Agriculture Department, but in any event, if a request for assistance is made to the Water Department, we will definitely see how we can assist.
At the end, any other callers on the line? Hi, caller, you're on the water line.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Williams.
Morning.
I know you very well.
Thank you.
But I don't know if you know me. But I am glad that this program is here because you seem as if you all have a lot of problems with communication and not logging information properly. So some of the work is done haphazardly. That is from my vantage point. It took me about 2.5 days to get back a supply of water. The water main run just outside my fence. But as I said, I'm glad the program is here because I'm making a complaint. I can't see why a broken joint would take 2.5 days to fix. And then I learned that one of the persons involved said that because he and I had some kind of problem, let me take that. So somebody had to bring a number of bottles of water for me to get to bathe. So I'm making the complaint now. One of the people up there know all about it. I wasn't come to you, but I changed my mind.
Well,
but I'm so glad now. But let me just say something before I go off and then I listen to your answer. How far is desalination from us? And if we continue to drill more wells, would there be enough water? Because a geologist they told me once we got to refer to other things with the space of development, and because we can continue to drill here, there, and everywhere, and because, for instance, in the Bastia Valley, they're supposed to get more wells, and the person was a high-ranked person. They're no longer here with us. But we used to exchange a lot of ideas. So I just want to know how far is, well, if you grant me those questions, but especially how far is it? And why not you all don't insist on if you all don't have a collaboration where the new houses are built with systems like the US Virgin Islands, etc. All right, I'll leave it there for now.
Thank you, caller. You've raised some very, very important questions, and I don't think we have the time today to fully address them. But as we, over the coming weeks and months, of course, we will have to speak to the reality of the water situation, how much water we have versus our demand, and how we, of course, are planning to address the water situation going into the future, both short term, medium term, and longer term. But suffice it to say that desalination is knocking on our doors, especially in the Bastia area. As you rightly said, we are at the limits in terms of the groundwater, that the amount of groundwater that we can sustainably and safely extract from the Bastia aquifer especially. In the rural areas, there's still a lot of capacity for drilling additional wells. In Bastia, we cannot drill any more wells. So we really need to start looking at desalination for Bastia. The issue of cisterns, definitely we all need to start looking at how we could integrate the use of cisterns to minimize how much we depend on the public supply for our water.
Anything to add, Mr.?
While it is good to have cistern, we can't just we shouldn't just say each houses have a cistern built on them, because we also have to remember, although they have the cistern, which is storage, in the event of water outage, because systems is really for emergency use. We also have to go into what we call rainwater harvesting, or what everyone will know, the water coming off of your shed, you catch it and you store it to use, because having cistern, you're still using the limited amount of water that we have without putting any new supply into the system.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Herbert. Thank you, Mr. Williams. As we near the end of the show, if we don't have any other caller, do we? We have more callers. Caller, you're on the water line. Welcome.
Hello. Yeah, I was looking for my good friend there, my schoolmate there, Mr. Williams, to reiterate something, and I just heard somebody talk about the water, Mr. Herbert. I found that in Nevis when I was young. I went to a camp, I realized that the older folks would have catch the water from the roof and direct it to a cistern. It's still happening in Nevis, which is another way of catching what you were talking about, the rainfall. And instead of using the natural water, the government supply water, you could use the rainwater to do the supply. Okay, my question is a technical question again. I wanted to know, because we have a lot of storage of waters around in terms of reservoir. My question is to Mr. Williams and Mr. Herbert. What is Legionnaires and what causes Legionnaires, and how could someone get Legionnaires from water? Because we know we have a lot of different waters around, and people do just tend to just use water, drink water, but the safety we're catching water, I mean, do we have it in the island, and how can we treat it? So I wanted to know, so that the public can know, what is Legionnaires, how can we contact Legionnaires, and if somebody do contact Legionnaires, how can we simply get it out of our system? And I'll listen after here.
Thank you, caller. Let's take another caller, and then Mr. Williams and Mr. Herbert will respond to each respective question.
Those callers left already, so that's it for now.
Okay, Mr. Williams.
All right. I am not sure if actually. I think the gentleman said Legionella. I know that there's I think they call Legionnaires Disease, which I think is something that is usually transmitted. Yes, it's associated with water, but my limited knowledge of it is that it is especially prevalent sometimes in things like AC systems, in cooling systems and things like that. I have not personally come across it in terms of it being something that is prevalent in potable water, but I stand to be corrected. But I've never come across it as an issue that we, for instance, face in St. Kitts or in these parts in terms of our potable water.
Okay. Do we have any other callers on the line? Caller, you're on the water line. Welcome.
Thanks. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm just asking you all, please, when you all leave ZZ, go down to Irishtown Garden where the lady said that this man does have the water running all hours. Go down there and fix it right away. And my question is that we have been talking about catching water from the mountain that's going on in the sea. Have that been done yet? Because every time you all have a water program talk on ZZ, we come up with these ideas, and it doesn't seem like anybody taking the ideas on board. Because we cannot depend on the government pipe for everything we want water. We have a lot of water going to the sea, like I said, and there should be some way of catching the water that even farmers can have it to use. Thank you. Time short. Have a good day.
Thank you for understanding that our time is limited, caller. Mr. Williams, do you have a brief response?
Well, there will always be some runoff when you have heavy rains. We should not expect that we will never see water running in the guts going down to the sea. When you have heavy rains, flooding, you will have water overflowing and going down into the seas. But in terms of the importance of that in the overall scheme of things, it's not really a big deal. However, if for agriculture purposes we can be able to dam some of that water, it will help. agriculture sector, but in terms of our potable system for domestic and households and so on. We are fairly confident, very confident, that we have optimized what water we can get from the surface sources, and our future for the past 20 plus years and going forward will always be drill more wells. That is how we're going to solve the problem until we go into desalination.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Can we afford any more callers? We have another caller on the line. Caller, welcome to the water line.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
My thing is that you ever advise the government to say, well, anybody building a house like $1 million up should build a system underneath the house?
It is a requirement in the frigate.
All them developed area, I think.
It is the law
that people build system under the house.
Yeah, yes, it is the law. It is actually the law. When Frigate Bay was developed,
so why is not happening?
When Frigate Bay was developed, it was part of the law, and it still is, that every house in Frigate Bay must have a cistern in order for its drawing to be approved.
So it's happening right now?
The drawings are approved. Most people build it, but then many of them don't use it.
So
don't use the
don't
cistern.
enforce the law that they use it, especially when water is low. They need to shut up like Frigate Bay and them big developed area, and use the water for the other poor people in the community. 1, 2. Why you all didn't advise the government when you were doing the Island Main Road to put main pipe on both sides of the road in the village then, so you don't have to dig across the road with them small pipes? Look in Hertfordshire. You don't dig up the road about 10 times in Hertfordshire since the road finished. Put a pipe bus in the road. That is stupidness. When Tom was doing the road from Sandpoint to Cairn in the early 80s, I advised the then minister to do that. Put that project in place, put main pipe on both sides of the road in the village. And we're living in the 21st century now, 2022, and it's still ain't happening. This small pipe across the road every minute, pipe box. That is stupidness, and then they take so long to fix it. So you all need to enforce something.
Thank you, caller, for your input. Do we have any other caller on the line? Caller, you're on the water line. Welcome.
Good morning, and how are you, madam?
I am fine, thank you.
And to the other person who is in your company and the host of this program. I haven't been listening much, but I occasionally will run away, come back because I'm occupied with what I'm doing. However, someone mentioned just a while ago about water problem. And I do believe there is a problem. For example, 5 miles away from Bastia, into a village they call Cayon. Is there something can be done? Have all you acknowledged and understood what needs to be done about the water situation in Cayon? Not just now, for years. Most of my lifetime, based on my understanding, what it is, can it be rectified? The engineers, have they seen what has to be done? The authorities make any effort to get it done? Because Sunday at church in Cayon, there are members of the church want to use the restroom. Unfortunately, there wasn't any water. And you know, when there is no water and people using a urinal and toilet, it can be disgusting. The next person behind coming to use it and cannot flush the waste. I am wondering, based on the advice all you recommended and what is in law all you said, is there a problem that all you know can be solved? The authorities have then discovered, realized how should they deal with it and why hasn't it been dealt with? Because this ongoing water problem in Cayon, it can be for a lifetime. It appears though. I'm just asking if there is anything all you could remedy and make better than what it is now. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.
Thank you, caller.
I think we're almost out of time, but Cayon, we're very much aware of the problem in Cayon. The solution, I believe that the solution has also been prescribed. It's just a matter of money and time, and I am hopeful and confident that that solution will be manifested in the very near future.
Okay, as we near the end of the show, we remind you that as climate change gets worse, groundwater will become more and more critical. We need to work together as a country to sustainably manage this precious resource. Groundwater may be out of sight, but it should not be out of mind. And so we remind you that for inquiries, contact us at 467-1005 or 467-1447, or you can email us at water.services@gov.kn. Remember, you can also save yourself the hassle of finding parking and standing in long queues by paying your water bill online, www.water.gov.kn. As we close, I leave you with our water conservation tip for today. Have an old toilet? Try placing a 1-quart plastic bottle in the tank, but please remember to place it away from movable parts. We want to thank all our listeners for choosing to join us this morning on the Waterline. Thanks to those of you who called and engaged in meaningful discourse, whether it was to ask a question, make a suggestion, or even file a complaint. We thank you for propelling us to continue our duty to serve, and not just serve, but to provide a quality service. Join us again on our 2nd and 4th Wednesday of each month. As we sign off, we hope that you would be with us on the Waterline on Wednesday, March 9th. See you next time.
Water is life, 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 life. Water is life, 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 life. Do just one thing,
Every job come, make sure you check for leaks around your house every day. Every job come, when brushing your teeth, don't let the water run away. Come save the water, preserve the water.